My name is Walter Chen. I'm 76 years old and I spent 50 years believing the wrong story about success. My son hasn't called me Dad in 15 years. A few months ago, while cleaning out my garage, I discovered a box of my son Michael's old belongings. Report cards, science fair projects, baseball trophies. At the bottom was a Father's Day card he made when he was 8. Inside, in careful crayon letters, it said, "I love you, Dad. I hope someday I can be important like you." I sat on that dusty garage floor and cried for the first time in 20 years. The walls around me held shelves of business awards, but that handmade card outweighed them all. Michael is 39 now. He's a high school English teacher in Portland. We talk maybe 3 times a year, birthdays, holidays, that sort of thing. Polite conversations that never go below the surface. And sitting there with that card in my hands, I finally understood why. You see, I thought I was teaching him the right values. Work hard. Make something of yourself. Don't settle for mediocrity. I built a consulting firm from nothing, sold it for $8 million, had my name on the building, flew first class. All the markers of success I thought mattered. But here's what that Father's Day card taught me, 31 years too late. My son didn't want to be successful like me. He wanted to be important like me. And I never understood the difference. When Michael was 10, he asked me to coach his Little League team. The other dads were doing it and he wanted me there. I said I couldn't. I had a business to run. I'd try to make the games when possible. I made exactly 3 games that entire season. 3. I remember the championship game I missed because of a client dinner in Chicago. Michael's team lost by 1 run. His mother told me later that he kept looking at the stands between innings, searching for me. She said he told his teammates I was coming, that I'd promised. When he was 14, he wanted to show me this poem he'd written for English class. His teacher said it was exceptional, might even win some contest. I was on a conference call. I told him I'd read it later. I never did. Found that poem in the same box last week. It was about a boy watching planes fly overhead, wondering where his father was going. The last line still haunts me. Maybe where he's going, there's room for me too. When he was 17, choosing colleges, he asked if we could visit campuses together. Make a road trip out of it. I hired a college counselor instead. Wrote a check. Problem solved, I thought. He ended up choosing the school furthest from home. The counselor later told me Michael had asked her during their sessions what it was like to have a father who showed interest in your future. She thought he was joking. He wasn't. She said he spent most of their meetings talking about everything except college. I justified all of it. I was building something, providing, being responsible. Other fathers might have time to coach Little League, but they weren't running companies. They weren't creating jobs. They weren't important. I told myself that missing 1 game, 1 conversation, 1 moment wouldn't matter in the long run. God, I was such a fool. My wake-up call came when Michael was 25. He'd just gotten his teaching credential and I took him to dinner to celebrate. I spent the whole meal telling him about opportunities in corporate training, how he could leverage his skills for better money, how teaching was fine as a starting point, but he cut me off. First time in his life he'd ever interrupted me. He said, "Dad, do you know why I became a teacher?" I didn't. Because Mr. Rodriguez, my 11th grade English teacher, was the first adult man who ever really listened to me, who read my writing and told me it mattered, who showed up. The restaurant was loud, but I heard every word like thunder. I became a teacher, he continued, because I wanted to be for some kid what I needed you to be for me. We finished dinner in silence, paid the check. Haven't had a real conversation since. That was 14 years ago, and I can still taste the wine turning bitter in my mouth. Here's what I learned too late. Success without connection is failure. All those years I spent building my reputation, my wealth, my importance, I was building a monument to loneliness. My ex-wife Linda tried to tell me. We divorced when Michael was 19. She remarried 2 years later, a carpenter named Frank who built custom furniture. Made less in a year than I made in a month. Frank's workshop is in his backyard, 20 feet from his house, so he's always home by dinner. You know what Michael calls him? Dad. Frank coached Little League. Frank read the poems. Frank took the college tour. Frank shows up. Frank never owned a company. But he owned something I sold without realizing it: my son's trust. Last Christmas, I saw a photo on social media. Michael and Frank working together in Frank's workshop, building a bookshelf for Michael's classroom. Both covered in sawdust, both laughing. The kind of photo I don't have with my son. At my retirement party 5 years ago, 200 people came. Business associates, clients, employees. Speeches about my vision, my leadership, my impact on the industry. A plaque with my name on it. And in the middle of all that congratulations, all I could think was, my son isn't here. The room was full of people who worked for me, but empty of the one person who mattered. He sent a card. "Congratulations on your retirement, Walter." Not Dad. Walter. I see other men my age with their adult children. They have inside jokes, shared memories, they text about nonsense. Their kids call just to talk. Their grandchildren know them as more than the guy who sends checks on birthdays. My neighbor Phil, a retired plumber, has lunch with his daughter every Tuesday. Nothing special, just sandwiches and conversation. I've watched them through my window. The easy way they laugh, how she touches his shoulder when she talks. 30 years of Tuesdays. That's wealth I can't buy. Phil told me once that his daughter has never missed a Tuesday, not even when she was in labor with her second child. She had lunch delivered to the hospital. You want to know something ironic? All that success I accumulated, the money? Michael doesn't want any of it. Told me to give it to charity. He'd rather live on a teacher's salary than take what he calls guilt money. He's not wrong. I've been seeing a therapist, something I would have mocked as weakness back in my important days. She asked me to list my proudest accomplishments. I started with the obvious: building the company, the acquisition deal, and the industry awards. She stopped me. I asked what you're proud of, not what others praised you for. I couldn't answer. Still can't. The silence in her office that day was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Because how do you take pride in a career built on the ruins of relationships? How do you celebrate success when it costs you the chance to know your own child? There's a coffee shop near Michael's school. I've driven by it dozens of times, always during his lunch hour, always slowing down to see if his car is there. Never dared to go in. What would I say? Sorry I missed your childhood. Want to grab a latte? The barista probably knows his order by heart, something else I'll never learn. Last month I worked up the courage to call Michael, asked if I could visit. He was polite but clear. I'm pretty busy with school right now. The same excuse I used to give him, reflected like a mirror. I wanted to tell him I've changed, that I understand now, that I'd trade every dollar, every deal, every moment of importance for one real conversation with my son. But you can't buy back time. You can't restructure a relationship like a business deal. Some bankruptcies are permanent, some debts can never be repaid. That Father's Day card is framed on my desk now. I hope someday I can be important like you. I stare at those words and realize he did become important, just not to me. If you're reading this and you have children, young ones, teenage ones, even adult ones, please listen to me. Your kids don't care about your title. They don't care about your net worth. They don't care about your reputation. They care about the bedtime stories you skip, the games you miss, the conversations you postpone, the moments you're physically present but mentally elsewhere. Importance meant having people return your calls, having your name recognized, and having influence. But real importance? It's being the person your child thinks of when they're scared, or proud, or confused, or want to share something funny that happened. It's being the voice in their head that says, "You matter," instead of, "You're not worth my time." My son teaches teenagers now. Probably stays late to read their poems. Probably shows up to their games. Probably listens when they need to talk. He's everything I wasn't, and I'm proud of him for that. But that pride is laced with shame because he learned who to be by watching who not to be. One of his former students reached out to me on LinkedIn. I thought I'd want to know what an impact Mr. Chen had made on her life. She's in medical school now, and Michael was the first person who made her believe she could do it. I printed that message. It's the only accomplishment of mine worth framing. She said he keeps a photo of every graduating class on his classroom wall, hundreds of kids who got what I never gave. I'm 76 years old. I have more money than I can spend. a reputation I no longer value, and a son who calls me by my first name. If that's success, I don't recommend it. To those of you still building your careers, chasing your ambitions, proving your worth, I'm not saying don't work hard. I'm saying don't confuse hard work with importance. Don't mistake achievement for meaning. Don't assume there will be time later to fix what you're breaking now. Your children are watching you, not to see how successful you'll become, but to learn what it means to be human. What are you teaching them? Is that love conditional on achievement? Is that presence less valuable than profit? The garage is clean now. Box of memories sorted. Most of it was thrown away because nobody wants the artifacts of an absent father. But I kept that card. I keep it where I can see it every morning, a daily reminder of the man I failed to be. Sometimes I read it and imagine different choices, a different life. One where important meant something else. Where success was measured in presence, not profit. Where my son still calls me Dad. Where that 8-year-old boy's hope came true in ways that actually mattered. But imagination doesn't change history. All I can do now is tell you what I learned too late. The only success that matters is the kind that brings people closer, not the kind that pushes them away. Everything else, it's just noise. It's choose wisely. You don't get a second chance at being someone's parent. Time doesn't wait for your business to slow down or your deals to close. Before you go back to whatever you were doing, if your child is in the next room, or if you were planning to work late again tonight, ask yourself, which memory are you creating right now? If this resonated with you, I'd appreciate it if you shared it. Maybe it'll reach someone who still has time to make different choices. And if you have a story about presence versus success, about what really matters, leave it in the comments. We learn from each other's mistakes, and sometimes that's the best we can do.